Hey everyone, I just wanted to come check in with you guys. It's been a minute since I've made a video, and the reason for that is because I've been deep in healing for the last few months and just really have been trying to focus on working through the difficult feelings and challenges that have been coming up in my life lately. And when I'm going through something on this level of healing, I tend to go within and focus on what needs to be looked at and the self-reflection that needs to happen so that I can solve these issues and break patterns in my life. So that's what I'm here to talk about a little bit, just to kind of check in and see where you guys are on your path and what's been going on with you. But I just want to say a little bit about what I've been witnessing and what information has been coming to me through this process recently. Obviously, we had the election and things are a little crazy right now. So over the last few years, I've been receiving a lot of downloads about the shift in consciousness and the evolutionary trajectory for humans who want to evolve. The first vision I ever had about this shift was probably sometime back in 2014, 2015, so 9 or 10 years ago. And I was shown a very literal split of the earth going into two. I thought I was going crazy at the time. This was this was the first vision I'd ever had, or any kind of download or anything like that. It was all very new to me, and actually it was quite scary. I thought I was going crazy. But as with any vision or dream or intuitive feeling, you have to have discernment, and you have to take time to see what transpires and see if there's any legitimacy to that, to see if you get more information through your meditative practices and things like that over the years. And I certainly have, and it's definitely been becoming more detailed over the last, I'd say 2.5 years. So what has been made very clear to me by my guides over and over and over again, with more urgency as time has marched on, is that we have to pick a lane. So I want to talk about the options that you have right now where we are in the present moment. So with everything that's been going on, we're caught in this left and right dynamic, which is obviously taking place right before our very eyes. And just as a reminder, everything that's going on outside of you, out there in your reality, is a projection of the healing, the inner healing that needs to be done. So what I've been shown recently is that this is a literal left and right side of the brain that we're flipping back and forth between. And what keeps us stuck in that left and right ping-ponging back and forth dynamic without actually evolving is separation, judgment, and fear. When we judge someone, we actually immediately separate ourselves from them. We say they're different, they're wrong, this is all on them. And really what that does is it keeps us in this reaction and over-analyzing mode. Okay, so we've got like that Mercury left brain, analytical, rumination energy, and then you've got reactions. So you're constantly analyzing what's going on out there and what that person's doing. Oh, look at what that person's doing. Can you believe the left did this? Can you believe the right did that? Like, you're just going back and forth between reactions, not true feelings, reactions based on trauma, and you're using the external as a way to give you something to express those negative feelings. But that's not what really the issue is. What the issue is why do you have those negative feelings and that anger and that judgment in the first place? And that's what we really need to figure out, is that's the root of what's going on in our world right now. So when they say pick a lane, okay, it's very clear right now that to most people that we have two options, okay? And this whole dynamic of good versus evil is playing out before our very eyes. And I wanted to come here and remind you, when you are in a state of duality, a state of judgment, a state of separation, a state of fear, a state of saying this is good, this is bad, I'm picking the good guys, those are the bad guys, that's all playing out, whether it's on the outside or on the inside, okay? So whether it's on the political spectrum, the world spectrum, or it's in your more intimate relationships, friendships, and personal dynamics, it's one and the same. But if you stay in this flip-flopping state back and forth between overreacting, overanalyzing, and going back and forth like this, you're never going to actually find the third path, which is what I really want to tell you about. How it's been shown to me is that we have this left and right dynamic, masculine and feminine, going on within our own consciousness. And it quite literally is mapped out in our brains. So if you want to get out of the left and right brain dynamic, and which is really tied to the reptilian mind at the brainstem. So in order to get out of this left-right dynamic where we're constantly going back and forth and keeping ourselves separate, and out of the present moment. See, this is why politics feeds so much on looking to the past or looking to the future. And when you're living in the past, especially what happens when you're in a victim mentality, you're constantly using the past as an excuse for why you're showing up in the present the way that you are. You're reaffirming that story over and over again. You're reaffirming the past, which actually sets you on a trajectory to continue that pattern in the future. The only way to get out of your patterns is to stop and go into a space of non-duality and self-reflection, because truly the only way out of this shitstorm is to go within. It cannot be avoided. Our shadows, our traumas, the things that we don't want to look at, the things we don't want to admit about ourselves, that's actually what's in the driver's seat in your life, whether you recognize it or not. And this goes for all of us. So the more that we avoid our healing path and getting real and actually looking in the mirror at ourselves, the more we're perpetuating the state of consciousness. And when we are looking at left brain, right brain, back and forth, we've got the reptilian mind that is connected to this, and it's activating all of this fear, fight, flight, freeze. And when we're in that state of mind, we are going to take actions that are not the healthiest, that may be hurtful to ourselves and to others. So the third way and the third path that I have seen involves carving a path out through the middle, up quite literally, to allow our consciousness to reside within the neocortex, which part of is the frontal lobe, which is responsible for processing deep emotions. The frontal lobe is where your consciousness is going to exist when you are in the present moment, feeling your actual feelings. Not reacting to somebody else's shit, but actually feeling the shit that has been there all of your life in the back seat, causing you to go in a certain direction when you don't even realize you're doing it. My guides came to me very clearly a couple of years ago, and they said, it's time to choose. You can't be going back and forth anymore, you know? And there was a lot of things I was doing in my life that I thought, it's not a big deal. I can get away with this. I don't have to be perfect, you know? And spirituality isn't about being perfect. And it's definitely not about judging yourself. It truly is meant to set you free. And quite frankly, I was trying to do both things in my life. And there were things from my past I definitely was not ready to let go of, but it was made very clear to me. And at first I actually resisted this message. I was like, this is, I don't want to be told what to do. Okay. I don't like people telling me what to do, even though I know these are my guides and this is truly my higher self giving me this information. And my higher self and my soul is only going to want what's best for me. I still, resisted a lot of it. And I learned some lessons the hard way. I truly did. And so what that taught me was to commit to my path. And so that's what I've been working on for a really long time now. And it's not been an easy process recently for any of us. The matrix is breaking down. The shift is here. And so every single one of us will be responsible for the evolutionary trajectory that we choose. And how do you know what you're choosing? It all boils down to what you spend your time, your energy, and what you put your effort into. So if you're still doing things the way that you've always done them, and you haven't gone into any kind of self-examination, self-exploration, learning how to be a healthy individual, why would we ever think that our life is going to change? You're just going to repeat the same patterns until you actually stop, look at them, and make an active effort to change them. There's no amount of moving, changing jobs, changing relationships that you can do to find that true soul joy and happiness, because it doesn't exist out there, it exists here. And so the more that we focus on that, and the more that we build our meditative practice, okay, because what that does is it activates the neocortex. It's going to put you in a different state of consciousness. And this is why, as much as I understand people want to resist having a meditative practice, because I did for years, if you don't have a discipline that you are doing daily that helps you to slow down, quiet all the bullshit, and look inside and actually connect to your true feelings and learn how to actually use those feelings as fuel for your life versus that they come in and they debilitate you and you shut down, you have to be alone with yourself. You have to put the time and energy to developing a relationship with yourself, and you do that through a meditative practice. This cannot be avoided at this point. The more that we practice going into ourselves and creating that relationship with ourselves, the more clear things will become about the issues that are going on in your life. The more clear you will become about that you haven't actually been present in your body. I know for me, I ran my whole life. I ran from the fear. I ran from the shame. I ran from the guilt. I ran from the disappointment. I ran from the abandonments and the betrayals. I just ran. And I did that through drinking and drugs and dysfunctional relationships, sex with the wrong people, constantly searching for that person that was going to make me happy, that job that was going to make me happy, the amount of money that was going to make me happy, all these things that I thought, when I get that, I'm going to be happy. And that's just not how it works, because the happiness has to come from within. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a codependent relationship with whatever that thing is that you're using to run. This is what addictions are. And when we talk about attachments, either to people or unhealthy behaviors, I want you to literally hear that word, attachment. What do we associate attachments with? Negative energies, demonic entities, whatever you want to call it. So if you're struggling to set boundaries, if you're struggling to stand in your truth, if you're struggling to use your voice, if you are struggling to know who you are, I'm really encouraging you to form that third path. The timeline is there, and I really want you guys to understand. Imagine yourself standing and you've got these bubbles in front of you, and these are all different universes. You choose what universe and dimension, I should say, that you want to go to with your actions. So if you're not taking action on changing anything in your life, you are on a clear trajectory to keep going down the path you've always gone down. It's not going to change. And it doesn't matter how much you want to change it if you don't become clear on why you're there in the first place. And that's the hardest part of all, because that means looking at the pain. We live in a multi-dimensional reality. We have a family of nature beings, cosmic beings. Everything around you is consciousness. Everything. Which means that it is connected to you, because you are consciousness and there is no separation. That is the illusion. And when the truth of the universe, the world that we live in, actually reveals itself to us, that we live in oneness, that we live in a state of unconditional love, that we are surrounded by unconditional love, when that hits you, like it's hit me, you will completely fall apart. I went through my whole life just wanting to be loved, to be chosen. And when I made contact with my soul and my guides and my family that exist everywhere around me, it almost broke me. And I've been on a really long healing journey, okay? You guys know I've been doing this for a very long time. And I almost didn't make it through the experience. I'm very lucky that I have the teacher that I do. I'm very lucky that I get to work with the students I do who are actively going through this shift. It's so essential for us to come together and reflect to one another the experience, but I'm going to tell you, it will be the loneliest thing you've ever experienced. Because when love hits you, when true love hits you, it shatters everything. It shatters the illusion. It shows you what you didn't get from your parents. It shows you what you've put up with in your life. It shows you how you have made decisions over and over again to continuously put yourself in a place where you're not chosen, where you're not loved. And then what you're left with is the responsibility that you did it to yourself. And that's where the freedom is. But it's not easy to get there. Not by any means. So I remember when I went to Mount Shasta, I think it was back in 2018, and I remember driving through these. I mean, I had been to the Appalachian Mountains, my home, several times in my youth, but I had never seen mountains like the ones in California, and they were just so magnificent, and their roads are so wide. You know, the mountain roads I've been in, and Kentucky and Tennessee, they're like these tiny little roads going around. I mean, it's crazy. But out there, they got like, 4-lane highways cutting through these giant mountainscapes. And it just amazed me. I thought, how does someone see all of that and say, you know what, let's carve a path through there? How the fuck did that happen? But that's what we're doing. We are the pioneers of a new age. And we're not going to get out of the duality. We're not going to get out of the matrix by continuing to participate in the matrix games. The only way out of it is to go within yourself and get into a place of non-judgment, non-duality, and carving that path to your highest emotional state, which exists in the neocortex and the frontal lobe, being in the present moment and being able to have all your feelings. Most of us are not in our bodies, and we don't know how to have our feelings. I lived, 45 years at least before I got a handle on actually how to feel. And I thought all I did my whole life was feel, but I actually avoided. And I blamed, and I projected. And so I want to leave you with this. The answer to all of the things that are going on in your life that you feel like you cannot control, it truly lies within you. And it is our job as those of us who are called to creating this new world, this new timeline, this new experience as human beings to come together. It is our job to carve the path, as hard as it may be, and as lonely as it may be. Because the truth is, when you begin to set boundaries, when you start to use your voice, it's first of all, it's not going to be perfect, but you have to start somewhere. Okay? You want change, you have to change. And there are going to be people out there who aren't going to want to go on that journey. And that's their right. So I want you to, close your eyes for a minute and really imagine you've got this center lane. You guys know how I feel about the Bible, but it's very true that it said that wide and spacious was the path to destruction and narrow was the path to righteousness. Was it righteousness? So you've got a big lane over here and a big lane over here, left and right, back and forth, And then there's this tiny little lane going in the middle to your highest state of evolution, to your highest emotional maturity, to being able to have and exist in a state where you know everything truly comes from within. So when you take that responsibility and you go through that, you can't blame someone else for your pain. You can't blame someone else for your problems. You can't do it. Because once you do that, you're putting all of the power outside of yourself. But if you're brave enough to go on this path, there is something more outside of the paradigm of black and white, good versus evil. And I just want to remind you, black and white thinking, everything's either good or everything's bad. Here's the good guys, here's the bad guys. I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy. That's mental illness. Mental illness does not know how to find a balance. It doesn't know how to find the middle path. Because in mental illness, you stay in judgment, you stay in separation, you stay in fear and overanalyzing and putting the power outside of yourself. So that's just a reminder. I hope you guys are doing well. It's been really hard for me a lot lately, and I'm sorry for not always checking in on here or putting out as much content or keeping in touch with you guys as much as I really wish that I could. But at the end of the day, we all have to choose ourselves. And for me, it's just something that I've realized, the levels of healing that I need, I have to be alone a lot. And when I'm really going through it, I want to go through it and I want to get out of it as quickly as I possibly can. So I tend to just isolate for a while and then come back out after I've been hibernating like the bear that I am. So please reach out to me if any of this resonates with you, if you need help in your journey, if you are wanting to learn more about how to activate your neocortex and to carve that path to wholeness and oneness, and to join those of us who are here to actually create the new world and not just talk about it, but live it. Please reach out to me and I would be happy to do anything in my power to help you. But as a reminder of what was taught to me, it's time to pick a lane. It's time to choose your path. Do you want to go into healing or do you want to go into more pain? Do you want to be happy or do you want to continue to be in fear? Do you want to take responsibility for the problems in your life or do you want to blame someone else and continue the cycle? So I encourage you to meditate on those questions. If you need help with a meditative practice or you'd like information on how to do interdimensional meditation and journeys, please reach out to me. You guys can always DM me or leave a comment. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I send all of you guys so much love and blessings and just encouragement to hold on and to remember that there's not a good side and there's a bad side. There's an external and there's an internal. And the more that you focus on the internal, the external will change. I love you guys. I will talk to you soon.